Okay, it automatically starts recording. All right. Colby, are you able to see where participants show up?
What was that again?
Are you able to see on your screen where participants show up?
Yes.
The feel for
All
how
we're currently at 50 and growing.
Oh, I'm seeing that. Okay, wonderful.
Yes. And I will say lots of familiar names, which is a good thing.
We love that. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. We're halfway through the week. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're going to start at 3:45, so we'll let people trickle in here, get situated. Hello, everybody. Seeing some familiar names in the list here. Welcome in.
So we already have one question.
Oh, wonderful.
Will you be sending the slides afterwards?
We'll be posting our webinar recording as well as our slides to our California Partnership Academies page on the California Educators Together website. So that is how you can access these slides as well as our webinar recording and other recordings and slides. For example, our budget builder webinar slides, our end of project expenditure report slides. These are all being uploaded to our California Educators Together page. If you just search California Educators Together, that website, it's a free platform for educators across the state of California to access all sorts of great resources. There's a bunch of different groups, kind of similar to Facebook groups. And we have a page now. So we have a CPA page. So if you go to that website, California Educators Together, and this went out also in the reminder for this webinar. There's a direct link if you go back to your email for this webinar. It's free to register. So there's a register button in the top right corner on that website. And then if you search groups for California Partnership Academies, you will find our page and you just click join. And then you have access to all of these great recordings and slides and pages from EdCode and all sorts of great reading. So yes, we will not be emailing these slides out, but we will be posting them to California Educators Together. And looks like we still have some folks trickling in. We got a good number of participants right now, but we'll start in about 1 minute. And we are recording, right? Are we in recording mode right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. It's 3:45. Happy Wednesday to everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon and out of your busy day to join us. We're excited to have you here today, and we have lots of great information. So we want to make good use of our hour together. So welcome to the California Partnership Academies annual report informational webinar. So this is our CAPAAR reporting webinar. My name is Kainwen Bushy, and I'm an education programs assistant here at the CDE. So I help oversee the CPA program. And I've interacted with a lot of you in person at Educating for Careers, as well as through emails. If you email our CPA Academies email or our CAPAAR email, I'm going to be the one to respond to you. So I think I've interacted with lots of you, but I'm excited to be here with you and share what we hope is very helpful information for you. I want to go ahead and introduce my team here or pass things over. We're excited to have Mr. Colby Franklin. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is the CPA guru, and he's going to have all the answers you're looking for, we hope. Fingers crossed. So, Colby, do you want to say a few words about yourself?
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Colby Franklin. I am the former CPA guru, as Kainwen has so graciously bestowed that title upon me. I currently sit as the educational administrator for the CTE Leadership Office. And for those of you who do know me, it's lovely to be spending an afternoon with all of you, supporting these fine folks and making sure that your annual CAPAAR gets taken care of this afternoon. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Colby. So we're also joined by two of our wonderful fiscal analysts. So Alicia, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alicia Geary, an analyst with the CPA office. I work on the CTEI funded CPAs, and Michelle Upton is another colleague of mine, and as well as Cindy Rose.
Go ahead, Cindy. Thanks, Alicia.
Good afternoon, this is Cindy Rose, and I work on Green Technology Partnership Academies. Thanks, Kainwen.
Yes, absolutely. And then we also we couldn't do things without Isabel Lopez here. She's our office technician. Isabel, do you want to say a couple words about yourself?
There's not a whole lot to say, but hello everybody, I'm Isabel, and yeah, I help them around the office and with the CPA programs, doing clerical work.
She keeps everything running. So, all right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into our webinar here. So today we want to cover, as Colby said, we're going to be covering the CAPAAR report. We'll be doing a big overview of the different pieces. We'll talk about how your academy is funded. We will cover how to log into the system and how to update contacts for your academy so that everyone has access. We'll go through each section of the application one by one and walk you through them. And then we will talk about the submission process and who is part of that process. We've enabled the Q&A for this webinar, so as questions come to mind, feel free to type those out and they'll go through, and our team here will be reading those out loud, and we will do our best to answer those, and then we'll wrap things up. So as questions come to mind, we are requesting that questions today that you put into the Q&A stay focused on CAPAAR reporting. So because there's a lot to cover, we want to make sure that those questions are really centered around this report. However, we know you have lots of other questions too. So if you have questions about capital outlay requests or special purchases, or maybe you're thinking about the budget builder, or maybe you need to make a budget revision, or you're not sure, anything that is outside of CAPAAR reporting, go ahead and email our capaar@cde.ca.gov. If you have fiscal related questions, so maybe you're wondering about your letter of intent, you'd like a copy of it, maybe you have a question about the GANs, want to know the status of your GAN or the status of your payments, maybe you have a question about the end of project expenditure report. These are great questions for our fiscal team, and they can be reached through cpafiscal@cde.ca.gov. And lastly, if you have some programmatic questions, just general programming questions about your academy, your industry sector, then those can be sent to CPAAcademies@cde.ca.gov. So if we get questions that are not related to CAPAAR today, it's unlikely that we'll read those out loud, but anything that we have that is CAPAAR related, we'll do our best to address. Okay, so diving in to CAPAAR, what is it, right? Okay, so CAPAAR stands for California Partnership Academies Annual Report. This is a digital reporting system, a web-based tool that is for our CPAs. And we use this report. The reason that you're asked to do this is because it determines compliancy with the Academy model, which is based off of California Education Code. And these sections of Ed Code, again, can be accessed on our website. So if you look for the California Partnership Academies page of the CDE website, all of the Ed Code is posted there. And that's really what drives our CPAs. So this report that you create gives us a feel for how close you're reaching the compliancy and which sections your academy might need some help with. And then in turn, this determines funding for your academy, which also helps you figure out how to budget and how to spend those funds. And Colby, if I'm missing anything, just jump on in and feel free to add. Okay, so this report opened just about a week ago. We opened it for you on April 1st. We want to make sure that you have ample time to complete it. And most of the sections can be completed, you can kind of just plug away at them starting now. It will close on June 30th. I want to say in the afternoon. So you have until June 30th to get this done. And it's important to think in the terms of backwards planning, right? Because we require signatures of the academy coordinator who prepares the report, the school principal, and then also the district superintendent. And since those three signatures are required by the due date, it is important to sort of think backwards and think of, how you can complete this in chunks so that you're able to hit that deadline. And that it's really important to make that deadline because that really is sets you up for funding for the next grant cycle. So your grant award, the amount of your grant award is going to be based on the number of qualified fundable students. We will talk about what does it mean to be a qualified fundable student? What are the requirements? So that's coming in just a moment here. We also want to just let you know that we are very focused as a team on making sure that future payments are made on time. And we want to acknowledge that our payments were sent out late, and we know that that added stress to a lot of CPAs in terms of spending their funds on time. We've had some staffing shortages, and we're working as hard as we can to get recalibrated, but we're on track to reset for this summer and fall and make sure that those payments go out on time. And we're also just trying to streamline all of our process. We're doing the best to streamline not just this process, but all processes. So just want to put that out there. All right, well, let's jump in. So we're all excited. How do we begin our CAPAAR report? So the first step is simply just to sign into PGMS. This should look familiar. This is where you go for budget builder and all that good stuff. Once you're signed in, you'll see this screen, and you'll want to click on this blue link. This is CA Partnership Academies annual report application. So click the CAPAAR link, and that will lead you to a screen with a drop down to select the school year. So for this CAPAAR report for the 24-25, you want to select the 24-25 school year from the drop down because you're reporting on this current school year. You're looking back across the year and letting us know what happened this school year. Right now, when you go to CAPAAR, pretty much everything else that you're looking at, you need to select the 23-24 school year. So for example, if you want to look at your proposed budget or if you need to make a budget revision, you will select the 23-24 school year, which can be confusing. But the reason for that is because your current grant funds are based on the previous year's CAPAAR report. So when you think about what you're funding now, it's based on last year's data. And that's why you always have to select the previous year, which seems it's counterintuitive. But please look for the 24-25 drop-down option for this CAPAAR report. And then obviously you'll select the name of your academy, at which point you'll be led to this main menu screen. And these are really all the different sections of the CAPAAR report. So most of these sections in here will need to be completed, and we'll walk through them one by one in just a moment. Notice on the right-hand side, there's a column that says status. And so as you go through each of these sections and save and submit them, this status will change from incomplete to complete. And you can see once everything is complete, you'll have a button to submit the report. All right. So I want to talk about academy funding and how we determine your funding. So this is based off of qualified pupils, qualified students. And a qualified pupil is a pupil who is enrolled in the Partnership Academy for the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade and obtains 90% of the credits each academic year in courses that are required for graduation, and also hits the 80% attendance minimum requirement. So we're looking, especially for grades 10 and 11, we're looking at those students in the academies that have hit 80% attendance or more, have earned 90% of their credits in each grade level that are required for graduation. And then at the 12th grade level, we're looking for students who are graduating. So when we look forward to the next grant cycle, the number of fundable students for the upcoming grant cycle will be based off of the students this year that hit those marks, 80% attendance, 90% credits in 10th and 11th grade. And we'll also look at the number of 12th grade students that graduated. And that number is the number that will determine your funding. And so if you're a fully funded academy, you're receiving $81,000. And the way that's broken down is each student that's fundable receives $900, right? So $900 per student. A fully funded academy, assuming it's a roughly 30 at 10th, 30 students at 11th, and 30 students at 12th grade will make you fully funded. Now, not every academy is fully funded. You might be in years 1 or 2 of building out your program, but you can see your funding amount on that main page once you're inside of CAPAAR. Colby, am I missing anything?
Nope, you're rocking and rolling.
Okay. And team, are there any questions in the Q&A specifically related to this funding, how funding is determined, or qualified students?
No, nothing on qualified students. Okay.
All right. Okay, we'll move forward. Okay. So if you're curious, on that menu screen, you can see about 2/3 of the way down the number of students that are currently funded at your CPA. So in this example, they have 161 fundable students. Now, of course, only 90 of those are funded with CPA grant funds, but the additional students are funded through other means. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this very first step of completing your CAPAAR report. The very top button says Academy Contacts. And so we've updated the system. Previously, we requested that you fill out a fillable form, a PDF, a fillable document, and send it to us with your Academy contacts. But that just requires a lot of back and forth. And it's really important that your Academy contacts are up to date, especially because a lot of these reports, such as the CAPAAR report or the end of project report, require multiple signatures. And so we want to ensure that you have access to update your own contacts. And so this year we just switched it so that you all can update contacts. And I'll walk you through that process in just a moment. So school principals and CTE directors, and I just today requested to our IT specialists that academy coordinators all have access to update their contacts. And so in just a moment, I'll show you what that looks like. This list here shows all the different people that can be part of your academy contacts. So obviously the coordinator, it's optional to have a co-coordinator. The school principal information is in there, and that's automatically uploaded, I guess, or automatically imported from Opus. You have an option to add a school administrator that's responsible for the academy, so maybe an assistant principal or someone that helps out. And then we just added school counselor, and hopefully you have a dedicated CPA counselor. But having a counselor is a nice addition since they can provide a lot of the student data. Your CTE director is in there. Your district financial officer, that's a really important contact to keep up to date because they are responsible for signing anything that's budgetary. And so we ran into a lot of issues with getting budget certified because the DFOs, maybe retired. And so it's so important to make sure that those are always being, if someone retires or someone is no longer in their role, that you're replacing them with someone that can sign off on these things. You also have the option to add a fiscal analyst. Sorry, I think that should say fiscal, or maybe it is financial. Fiscal analyst, you can have up to 2 of them. District superintendent is also imported automatically from Opus, and then your Opus coordinator. Sometimes we have a principal or a superintendent who's not getting communication from us because there's a typo in their email. We at CDE are unable to edit their contact information, and you are also unable to edit their contact information because it's directly imported from Opus. So if it's incorrect in CAPAAR, it's probably a typo in Opus, and that requires someone at your district to make that correction. And once they do, it automatically updates in our system. And that's just for principal and superintendent. If you are having trouble accessing CAPAAR, please just email us at capar@cde.ca.gov, and I will go ahead and send you your login information. But here is sort of a screenshot of the new Edit Contact, the Academy Updates page. So when you click that first button on the menu, you're going to see two columns. On the left-hand side, you'll see the current school year and any contacts. This is just a snip of the coordinator, but if you scroll down this page, you'll see all those other roles that I just walked you through. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the upcoming school year. And this is really nice because if you know that you're transitioning out of your role, you can go ahead and add the new person. So maybe you already know that there's going to be a new coordinator. Go ahead and add them now, and then they'll have access to CAPAAR, and you can help train them or collaborate on things in here. But the way you want to update your contacts, there will be an edit contact button. And again, so if you were to select the 23-24 school year, you'd see 23-24 on the left side and 24-25 on the right side. So this just adapts to whatever school year you select. But if you want to edit anything, there is an edit contact button to click, which then opens up all of these fields. You can search for this user to see if they're already in this system. If they type their email in and hit search user, and if they're in here, it'll automatically populate these fields. If not, you can go ahead and type out their name and their email. Just be really careful that there's no typos, because that usually is what the issue is if people aren't getting communication from us. And then press save user. You'll also see a button pop up on the right-hand side that says email password set up to user. I showed it over here on the left, but you'll see it also on the right-hand side once you save. And that will just send them an automated email with their login information. So this is how you edit contacts. And again, Academy coordinators, you will have access to do this shortly. Our IT specialist is working on giving you access. Again, the principal can also edit contacts for their CPA, as well as the district CPE director. And if you're unable to get those folks, if they don't have time or they're struggling with updating contacts, just reach out to us and through email, and we'll go ahead and do it for you. All right, so moving on to the Academy model. So the next button down, the Academy model is a series of 19 questions that are asking you about different ways that you're adhering to California Education Code. So this is going to ask you questions about your classes, about them being peer classes, cohorted. It's going to ask you about the number of at-promise students in the 10th grade. It's going to ask questions about scheduling and class scheduling. It's going to ask if you have a shared planning period with your CPA team, what motivational activities you use to get students excited about the program. It's also asking for some narrative about your successes this year, as well as any challenges that you faced. And really this Academy model section, these 19 questions, it's all just narrative about what's going on in your academy. You're telling us a story. We also look to this when we nominate distinguished academies. We look at how closely they're adhering to the Ed Code. So this puts you in the running for an academy review. It also lets us know if you're having challenges meeting some of these requirements, and it allows us to support you. This is how we, figure out different professional development opportunities or what webinars might be useful. And it also helps us give information to our Lighthouse Academies so that they can better support the field. This is really just so that your academy can thrive. And it's not a gotcha. I know it might feel like that. But really it's just for us to support you and see, what areas you might need some extra support in. And again, don't worry if you're not there yet. We know how hard it is to run an academy that adheres 100% to ed code. Even our strongest academies, it's hard. It's hard work. But we know how effective it is for students, and we know that academies that are running really strong programs are adhering to ed code. Colby, anything you want to add there about this academy model?
Yeah, actually, you hit it all, hit it all, and you made a really good point there, Heinwin. Remember, this is not a gotcha moment. This is to help the team provide additional supports to your program, to your administrators, to the teachers, just to really at the end of the day, if you are really needing the extra support, that's what this is all about. That's why the narrative was so important. Be truthful with us, because that allows us to help you move your academy in the right direction. And then, you never know. Miracles don't happen overnight. And so the team will work with you. And if you end up wanting to go for a Distinguished Academy uh, uh, nomination, this is the way to go. And this is the way to start. Is here's what we need help with. And then the team and the Lighthouse Academies are able to provide those additional supports. And then, let's say 2-3 years later, you have all of your ducks in a row and you're walking across that stage at Educating for Careers. And as I told Kindwin yesterday, as we were talking about this, the automotive Partnership Academy that walked across Joe's Academy, I've been working with Joe for over 10 years now, and it absolutely warmed my heart that he and his team were recognized as a Distinguished Academy, though I know for a fact his automotive academy is one of the best in California. Now they can actually say they are one of the best partnership academies in California as well. So please be truthful. Don't be afraid. This really helps to open that conversation up for additional supports.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Colby. All right. So, and another piece of this academy model is determining your number of at-promise students, right? Your percentage of at-promise students. So keep in mind that we're only thinking about 10th grade students when we look at promise, right? Because the goal is to recruit students to this program that might be hitting some of this at-promise criteria, right? Low attendance, record of underachievement, maybe disinterested in regular school, economically disadvantaged, lower scores on the smarter balance assessments, lower GPAs. We really want to help these students feel connected, feel like they're part of something, feel like they have purpose and excitement about going to school. And so our goal is really to recruit half of our 10th grade students as at-promise students and move them out of that at-promise status by the 11th grade. And that happens because they're feeling connected, right? They're in a cohort. They're feeling connected to their peers and their teachers because they're in a smaller learning community. They're building those relationships, right? They have the support of an academy counselor that understands their needs. Hopefully, through this, their attendance is going up. They're bringing their GPAs up because they're attending class more often. That's really the idea behind recruiting at-promise students. And then the goal is to move them out of that, right? I want to see all of our students thrive. This does not impact your funding. Colby, do you want to speak to a little bit about that? And then just how, the funding being based off of the credits and attendance instead of at promise?
Yeah, so the at promise piece is really that's your recruitment piece for that sophomore year. And as Kindwin just said, it really is. If you're doing what we all know is true and building your students up, they will become those top end students, and they should be, having really great GPAs. Their attendance has gone through the roof. They've made those connections because really, when I first started, it was always rigor, relevance, and relationships. I'm sorry, but that's backwards. It's all about relationships here. And if you can build those relationships with those students, we see them in your classes more often. We see their GPAs go up. And so this is not tied to the funding piece. The funding piece is all about the attendance and the credits earned at the end of the day. So that is where the 80% attendance rate comes into play for all 3 years, as well as the 90 credits earned for all 3 years. To help build and keep your academies fundable. So don't worry if your students are no longer at Promise their 11th or 12th grade year, because that is what you want. You want them to become those model students and be proud of them when they walk across that stage and earn their high school diploma.
Absolutely. All right, before we move on to the next section of the CAPAAR report, are there any questions in the Q&A in the chat about this academy model, the questions that they're going to be answering?
Just a couple of comments and I guess questions, but have you considered including mental health issues as a criteria for at Promise? And how about newcomers? For the one for mental health, that would be great. Unfortunately, the at Promise pieces are actually in ed code. And so if we know that some students that do have mental health issues don't attend school regularly, they don't have that 2.2 or higher GPA. So, you can look at those students and see academically and in attendance that, they could use that extra help. Maybe they need that small learning community that is so important with a California Partnership Academy. The second question about newcomers, that's where same thing. Sometimes when we see a newcomer or a student that hasn't grasped the English language, their credits are deficient. Sometimes they're just not making it to class because they're struggling. And again, that's where the community piece really comes into play. Sink your teeth into it and run with them. I know some of you on this call know my history, and I was never one that turned away a student for any reason. We always tried to grab as many students as possible, even though we could only fund or get funding for up to 30. Our 10th grade year, we would try and run two groups of sophomores, because that's 60 students that we really wanted to help. And we built more bridges with our newcomers program, with our special education program. There were no barriers. And so it just grows your program, number one. But number two, if you dig down into their academic history, you will be able to find those students that do reach that 50%. It doesn't take, it's not hard. It just takes a little bit of time. But if you have a really good counselor, or if your district or your site has a dedicated counselor for your partnership academies, work with them. You'll be amazed with how quickly some of these outliers or new new types of students that we'd like to see being considered, they do fit somewhere in those 6 criteria right there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to our business and community partners, and different partnerships that support our CPAs. So beginning with business and community partners, this is the next link that you will click on. Once you're inside, you'll see a button that says add new business and community partner, and then it'll prompt another page to open up where you'll simply enter their information, right? Names, positions, and how they participate. Are they a speaker? Are they part of field trips? Do they offer mentorship or internships, work-based learning, that type of thing? Do they donate equipment? So you'll click the boxes that match their contributions, and you'll save that. Post-secondary partners, very similar. Next one down, you'll click on add new post-secondary partner, and then in here, enter and save their information. So for all of your partners, again, their names, contact info, and then letting us know how do they participate. Do they offer job shadowing, externships, course articulation, maybe dual credit courses? How are they supporting your CPA? And similarly, advisory committee. So your CPA needs to have a local advisory committee, and we want to know who those members are. You'll click on add new advisory committee member, and just like before, enter their information, their name, contact info and how they participate. What is their contribution? Are they supporting with college and career readiness and preparation? Are they offering tutoring, course alignment, right? What are they doing to contribute? Are they helping you align your CPA with industry standards? There's many different roles for your advisory committee. So you'll enter all of those different contacts and save them. That's pretty straightforward. Am I missing anything, Colby? And are there any questions related to partnerships?
Nothing on partnerships. I'm catching up on a couple of questions, so keep on going, Tyler.
Okay,
We're
sounds
rolling. Good job.
Alrighty. Okay, so this next section is all about your courses and curriculum. So click that link. And this is where you are showing us what are the courses that are being offered to your CPA students at each grade level, grades 10, 11, and 12. And the requirements based on education code are that in grade 10, you're offering 3 academic courses and 1 CTE course. At grade 11, the same thing, 3 academic and 1 CTE course. And then at grade 12, we only need you to show us 1 academic and 1 CTE course. That's the minimum requirements, right? These courses this is where you're showing us the hybridization of CTE content coming together with academic content, right? They support one another. And your team of educators, this is why you're having common planning time, so that you can work on cross-curricular projects and coursework that really integrates the CTE themes. When your students go to their academic classes, whether it's a math class or a science class, they're seeing CTE content. They're seeing content from your CPA, right, being pulled into those classes to see the relevance. And then vice versa, right? In your CTE classes, you're pulling in topics or units of study that are coming from those academic classes. And this is really what's pulling things together and creating that, what am I trying to say? Cohesive experience for your students as they move through these grades. And another piece of that cohesion is the sequence of courses, right? So in grade 10, these CTE courses it's an introductory course that's giving them the groundwork, the foundation for this industry sector. Grade 11, we're moving that up to a concentrator course, right? And then it's culminating in this capstone course where they have an internship, they're getting that real world hands-on experience. But basically the idea here is that we see blending of these courses together and a sequential building upon of skills and knowledge. For each of these courses, we ask that you give us a course description. You can simply go to your course catalog for the school district, cut and paste that description, and then tailor it a little bit if you want to highlight something specific that shines in the course. Maybe it's a project, maybe it's, I don't know what anything that's unique to your course that stands out from other courses across the state that would be similar. This is really an opportunity, as Colby mentioned before, to show us that your academy is distinguished, right? How are you going above and beyond to create a really meaningful learning experience for your students where they're really learning these job skills that create a smooth transition for them into the workforce. And so it needs to be detailed enough that we can really see what you're doing in here. What makes it an introductory course? What makes it a capstone course? And what are those unique skills that they're acquiring? A simple phrase or 1 sentence is not going to be quite enough. So just make sure that you give us a few sentences about your description. Anything to add, Colby, about sequence of courses or academic versus CTE courses?
Not that I can think of at this point in time, but yeah, when you're talking about your course descriptions, the easiest way is copy and paste from your course description book from your district, and then light it up with what you do to make your courses, your sequence really shine and differ from the other sequences in your district. Because as we all know, every CTE teacher has their own specialty. They have their own amazing things that they bring to the table. And so it gives each CTE pathway some unique pieces, and this is where you get to let your CTE teacher plus your course really shine to really show what your students are capable of learning, or what they are learning and what they're capable of.
Nice. And Alicia, Cindy, or Isabel, are you noticing any questions in the Q&A that cover maybe something that we've already talked about, or something related to this? Something we've missed so far? Maybe not? Okay, we'll move on forward then. So the next sections here are regarding your district match and your business match. So let's start with the school district match. Okay, so according to Ed Code section 54692, CPAs are required to have a 100% district match. So this amount of money needs to match the CPA grant fund allocation that you have. So if you're fully funded at $81,000, we're also looking to the district to match that $81,000. And you'll, in this section, when you click on the link, the school district match, you'll answer 10 questions, and then it will automatically calculate the total match for you. So here we can see in this example that they're way above $81,000, right? Their district is contributing over $150,000. And so they are compliant with Ed Code. When you're looking at things from district match, Colby, would you be able to speak to maybe examples that would be good uses of district match money?
Oh, yes. District match money. So if you have a CTE director that is being funded by the district, the portion of their time that they spend working with your school site and your pathway, add that. If you have a dedicated site administrator that has a percentage of their salary, that is a wonderful district match. Another one is if you have a dedicated counselor. My old school, we had a dedicated counselor. She oversaw 5 different partnership academies. So for each one, 20% of her FTE was for one of our partnership academies. So, you know, it adds up very quickly. Another one that we used to have was our district used to ensure that all of our buses were paid for by the district itself. So that way they would get the district match. And after I left, and just quite recently, within the last 5 years, the district ended up actually purchasing some CTE vans just for CTE programs using their CTIC dollars. And so the time that or the rental fee of being able to run the van and all that, now the district pays for the gas, the maintenance, and the driver for the vans as a match. So there are ways to really look at and dive down. Another great district match is if the district is picking up that additional prep period for your coordinator. So as you know, supposed to have two prep periods, one dedicated for the CPA. If your district is picking up the full thing or half of it, you know, right there, that's another large chunk of change that may be used for the school district match.
Mm-hmm. Those are great examples. And I just want to highlight something you said, Colby, too. He said the percentage of time dedicated to the CPA. And so one thing that we want to be careful of when we're building out our budgets is not to supplant salaries, right? So salaries that should be covered by the district or covering 100%, right? If only 20% of their time is spent on CPA duties, it's really that 20% that needs to be the match, not the full salary. Otherwise, that would be considered supplanting. But that's a budget question. That's for later. Okay. So moving on, we also want to see that we have an equal business match, business and community match. So you'll click that one, and same thing, same section of Ed Code, same requirement, 100% business match. Here you'll answer 9 quick questions. That's going to give you a calculation of your total match. In this case, we see an academy that the business is contributing $84,000, just over that, and they are compliant, right? Because if they're fully funded at $81,000, this amount is at or above that. All right, Colby, I'm going to ask you to chime in again. Some good examples of business match. I'm thinking like guest speakers, right? Industry professionals. What do you think?
Absolutely. So please, anytime you have a business partner come in and speak to your students, I believe back in my day it was $75 an hour. I believe talking with Kind Win yesterday, that has been bumped up to $100 an hour, so that if you have multiple guest speakers coming through, please, in-kind bonus of $100 per hour that they come on in, to be able to quickly use as a business match. Also, if you have an equipment heavy industry sector and you have businesses donating not only time but older equipment, work with your district to find out what the in-kind cost of that donated piece of equipment is, and voila, it's very easy, especially if you have like a building construction trades or a advanced manufacturing academy. In order to do that, and the pennies start adding up very, very quickly. I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. Oh, if you're taking your students out to do a job shadow, and you have multiple adults that are multiple employees at a business that are actually going through and leading small tours, go ahead and add them. That give back right there, because that's their time that is being pulled away from their actual job in order to help your students understand what's going on within that industry sector. Give them the bonus of being able to be pulled away and investing that time in your students to give your students that one up on everyone else. That shows some real dedication there, and use things like that as part of your business match, please.
Those are great examples. Yeah, I'm thinking of going back to Van Nuys Automotive Academy. They have all these vehicles, right? Older vehicles, electric vehicles that have been donated by dealerships. And I'm thinking of our other distinguished academy, our culinary academy at Pacifica, with its incredible kitchen equipment and stoves and all sorts of items. So these are great examples of donations that can be a district match. And I just want to clarify that $100 per hour is going to be going up for the upcoming grant cycle. So this current grant cycle, 23-24, 23-25 and 24-25 is $75 an hour. But for the fall, right, this new grant cycle, you'll be able to pay $100 per hour. All right. And then just real quick, this is just a visual of a non-compliance situation where this academy's business match is well below what it should be. And so you just, use some of Colby's ideas to get creative and find ways to bump that up so that it is at or above your CPA grant allotment. Okay, we're going to jump into student data. So this is an important section of the CAPAAR report. You'll enter data for grades 10, 11, and 12. So I'll just show you them all together here. When you click on a grade, such as grade 10, you'll see a button to add new student data. And so for grade 10, you'll always enter your 10th graders. This is a section that takes a little bit of a time because you do need to enter each student one by one, right? So we know this is kind of a challenging section of this, just in that it's a lot of information. It can be a bit tedious. The nice thing is that your students for grades 11 and 12 will automatically import for the CAPAAR report. So you shouldn't have to make any changes to 11th or 12th unless something's changed with one of your students, or maybe you had a student join the school in 11th grade, something like that. So you'll click add new student data and then complete the profile for each student. It just leads you through their name, some basic demographic information, questions about their attendance, their credits, their GPA, etc. So you'll save and repeat that process for each of your 10th grade academy students. And at grade 10, you'll then see a list. You'll see a table, and this will show you whether the student is considered at promise, what their attendance is out of 180 days usually, their credits earned for that grade level. So again, we're just looking at that specific grade level at 10th grade. Say, for example, at 10th grade, they need to earn 55 credits. How many credits did your student earn out of that grade level number of credits required? And are they fundable, yes or no? So you can also, delete these sections, view them, edit them, but you'll do this for each of your 10th graders. As I said previously, we love that grades 11 and 12 automatically populate based on the last year's report. And so really you just need to make sure that that information is just accurate and that there haven't been any changes to your 11th and 12th grade students. And again, Colby said this before, we're not looking at promise for 11th and 12th grade, right? We're just looking at promise for 10th because we want those students to move out of that status and be thriving. Some of the other questions they'll be asked about the student data, this section. I already talked about these top 3. Any college and career indicators. You'll be checking off whether they've received mentorship, if they've participated in an internship, and whether or not they're on track for graduation. And I do want to emphasize and just clarify this section about credits, because anytime that we need a CPA to maybe reopen their CAPAAR report after submitting it, we do review these one by one. And this is one of the areas we see confusion with and often have to reopen your CAPAAR report for you to correct. So we'd like to avoid that. When you're inputting student credits toward graduation, again, you're only looking at the specific grade level. So if you're looking at the 10th grade, we're asking that you tell us how many credits did the student earn just in the 10th grade, right? That are required for graduation. We're not asking you to do a cumulative number of credits, adding 9th and 10th grade, just 10th grade. You're leaving 9th grade out of it. Same thing for 11th. We're only looking at the 11th grade. How many credits did they get in 11th grade out of the number of credits required at the 11th grade? Not adding 9th and 10th. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear. Are there any questions coming in about credits or anything you want to emphasize or clarify, Colby?
Nope, you hit it. As we talked yesterday, the biggest question I always had when it came to credits every year was, is it cumulative or is it just for the year? It is always just for that specific year. Make it easy for yourself, make it easy for your counselors, make it easy for the team when it comes to breaking things down to ensure that your funding is available sooner rather than later. We really do appreciate it.
That's great. And then Isabel, Cindy, Alicia, any good questions coming through that we should pause for? Yes, no, maybe so? Sounds like maybe not. Okay.
Here, I got one. Just
got one. Okay.
It's a quick one. It's not really about this, but it's about the planning periods. Please explain the 2 planning periods. Are the 2 planning periods a total of 1 planning period from our school site and 1 planning period for CPA work? Yes, that is what it is. So the coordinator has 1 for the school or for their classes, and then 1 for the CPA work, and that 1 planning period is also supposed to be spread out so that all team members within the Partnership Academy have that same common planning period. I hope I got that one.
No, yeah, I think you got that because that's why we want that common planning for your team so that you can plan out these incredible cross-curricular integrated projects, right? If you don't have that planning time together, it's really hard to have a cohesive program where those academy classes and CTE classes are really coming together, right? You got to have time to collaborate. That's the reason for that.
Yeah. Real quickly, for senior year, my students have a lower credit load. How should that be indicated? We understand that seniors, do have open periods. And again, that's why it is for the 12th graders, it's based on graduation. So it's all good there. So for their CPA courses, it would be their CTE course and, English or science or math. So it's just 1 and 1. And again, we do understand that. So you don't have to actually say much about that, as seniors they have lives. A lot of them do like to work. Others like to sleep. So that one's very simple in a sense of how that goes about. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Are we good to move on? Okay, we'll go ahead.
Yes, I do. Yes, I just finished up getting to the questions.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're wrapping up here. There's not at this point you've done the bulk of the work in your CAPAAR report. That really is now it's the easy stuff. So there are a few links in here. You don't need to worry about this. This full annual Academy reports is just a link if you want to download some reports. There's no actual task for you to do in there. Budget builder, you're all familiar with that. You already did your budget builder for the current grant cycle. Take a break, take a vacation from that. We'll open up the fall budget builder soon here, but that's just if you want to get a head start on it. So don't stress about that. You'll see the link for the end of project expenditure report. Again, this is not even open yet. This is a report where you tell us how you actually spent your grant funds, right? You planned how to spend them. We know things change, right? You need different things along the way. Maybe you needed some equipment. So on this report, you're going to tell us how you actually spent your funds. That is not part of the CAPAAR report. Don't worry about it. It's not even open yet. Or just kidding. Actually, all right, I misspoke. We did open it for you. It's open for the 23-25 grant cycle, the 2-year grant cycle. That is paper. That's still old school, and that's with your fiscal analyst, right? So you're going to complete that. It's a form, and you'll email it back. You can get it from your fiscal analyst. And then the 1-year grant, we actually did open it already. Sorry, I misspoke on that. But you have time. You have time to get that completed. And I would just prioritize CAPAAR right now. Okay, so state assurances and certifications is the next link on here. This is a simple click a box. We have the form, the document, the CPA assurances document. We're asking that you read that. You can keep it on file for compliance reviews, audits, things like that. And then you're simply going to click this box right here, letting us know that you're committed to complying with the assurances, certifications, terms and conditions associated with the CPA grant. And the final button is program changes updates. So when you click on that last one, it's just a yes or no. This is the easiest question, yes or no. Were there any program changes made to your CPA, right? Maybe you added some new courses to your sequence of courses. Maybe, I don't know, there's new sequence of courses developed for your industry sector. Or maybe you're doing an industry sector change because your students are losing interest in the industry sector that's being provided by your school. And so you have determined that the needs have changed, right? There's something more relevant and you want to do an industry sector change. So anything that's really substantial that has changed in your CPA, if that's the case for you, please click yes, and then give us a note in the CDE comments box here about what changed. That's really helpful for us. No changes, click no and save. That's really all this is. We just want to know what's going on, and these changes help us determine if you need more support, right? Making sure that your courses are still building off of each other, that they're still aligned with the industry sector, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we did it. We got through the report. We did all the sections of the report. We're so excited. And now we simply just need to get a series of people to sign off on this. So again, this is really, what we're asking for, coordinators. You're going to complete this report and submit it. So once you're done with all these sections and they all say complete on that status column, you'll find that button on the main page that says submit report. Send it off, right? Then it's going to prompt your principal through an automated email. And this is why email addresses and the contact updates are so important, right? Your principal will then receive it and review and approve. And then that will trigger the system to automatically contact your superintendent. And they will then need to review and approve your CAPAAR report. All of this needs to happen by June 30th, right? And we know that can be stressful at the end of year, but this is where your counselors and principals and attendance clerks come into play, teamwork, right? Because they have access to more detailed information, more data. And so you should be able to pull a lot of this data from your student information system. So maybe you work with PowerSchool or something like that. A lot of this information is living inside of your SIS. You can run these reports yourself, but work with your district as well, right? Because a lot of our districts, like Los Angeles, Oakland, we have a lot of school districts that have multiple academies. And they're familiar with this. They're familiar. They want to support your funding. They know how important this funding is. And so they're on top of it. They understand that the money is there to support students. So coordinators, this is not completely on you. Right? Reach out to your team and figure out and strategize who has access to the different pieces of data that are required for this report, and start early. Start now so that this doesn't add up. Don't be like me. Don't procrastinate. It'll stress you out. Once we get coordinator approval, principal approval, and superintendent approval, it comes to us. We will review it, and we will either approve it or request edits. And again, the more honest you are, the more accurate you are, the less likely it is that you will need to make any edits. We don't want to have to send it back to you. So also reach out to us. If you have questions along the way, reach out so that we can assist you, support you, so that this is all submitted in a timely manner and you get your grant funds on time, right? Again, not meeting that June 30th deadline means that your academy funding can be affected. We don't want to hit, we don't want that situation for you. Let's see here. Colby, anything to add?
Yeah, I want to echo, please get this done sooner rather than later. Having been on the back end with this team for quite a few years with CAPAAR and PGMS, as smoothly as the system is now running, it still gets bogged down. And my office actually oversees CTIG. And so when there are 400 people in there on the last 3 days before something's due, it gets bogged down and becomes an absolute nightmare. So I encourage everyone to start early, get it submitted early. It will make your life a lot easier. And then your end of your school year is a lot nicer too. Mm-hmm. So that is amazing. There are a couple of questions in the chat here, for changes for their budget or adjustments. How do they go about doing that these days?
Yeah, budgetary questions, you can go ahead and email either our fiscal team, or you can email our CAPAAR email. But essentially, if you did your proposed budget and there's minor changes to it, then you're simply going to report on your end of project expenditure report how you spent those funds, right? So you don't necessarily need to change anything or revise anything. You're just going to tell us on that report what actually happened, right? A budget revision, just real quick, if you are moving a substantial amount of money, which we consider over 20% of your CPA grant funds, out of one object code. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you got a really exciting piece of equipment for your academy and it was expensive and it was more than 20%, I don't know, or required you to move more than 20% of your funding from one object code to another to purchase it. That prompts the need for a budget revision. So it's more substantial changes to your proposed budget. But without going into more detail, please reach out if you have questions, if you think you might need to do a budget revision, because there's a substantial change to your budget, and we can guide you and let you know if that's required.
Cool, thank you very much. There was a question about a lot of staff movement happening at this time of the year. And if the principals changed at some point in time throughout the towards the end of the year, and they're not able to expedite the CAPAAR, I'm going to guess that they would have to probably update through Opus. But if I remember correctly, we do have, if there's like an emergency, we do have authorization capabilities through CAPAAR to push a signature to the next level if needed. Is that still still available?
Yeah, that's
okay.
correct. That's correct. You absolutely can't get if you can't get your principal a new principal updated in Opus in time, then simply an email statement, right, stating I approve of this and sending that to us, we are able to manually push it through for you.
Awesome, cool. And then next question is the assurance statement. That links to the official webpage for the department. Is that correct?
Yeah, it links to the
Okay.
document. I think it's either the document itself or the webpage where the document lives.
Okay, so I believe Edith that one helps out with you with the physical forms. That link will in the CAPAAR will take you there. And then one more. I don't. Janice, I'm not sure what you're asking here, so I'm going to ask you to go ahead and email CPA Fiscal, and I'll drop that email into the chat here, so that way you can reach out to Fiscal about expenditures and all that good stuff. So that way you get it very quickly and succinct, so all of your questions can be asked about that. Okay.
Her original question was about budget revision.
Oh, okay. Thank you so
so
much,
we can
Cindy.
help her at CPA Fiscal.
Awesome.
Yeah, any budgetary questions, just email us. We'll help you out. Okay, so we are closing up here, we're wrapping up. We know you're hungry and need a nap and a walk and I don't know, maybe you need to go to the gym. Who knows? We want to get you out here. Our next steps, please notify your district of this June 30th deadline. Get your team on board. Maybe have a quick meeting, divide and conquer, attack this thing. Maybe choose one section each week, right? One section per week, and then it'll be done in no time. We want to emphasize that most of this application can be completed early. You do not have to wait until the end of the school year for most of this information, right? Start putting start inputting your student information, talking about your business partners, your community, all that stuff. And then keep in mind too, that you can use your CPA grant funds, your supplemental funds to provide extra pay, right, to complete this report. We know this takes time. This is going to take hours. This is going to take hours of your time, and we want you to be reimbursed for it. So up to 40% of your CPA grant funds can be used for object codes 1000, 2000, and 3000, which is all about personnel, right? Personnel and substitutes. So please access those funds. Make sure that you are supplementing yourself for your time. And again, questions about this CAPAAR report, email us at capar@cde.ca.gov. We want to thank you so much for your time today. We hope that this was helpful information for you. And if you want to access this webinar recording or these slides, they will be uploaded within a few days here to our California Partnership Academies page on the California Educators Together website. So go ahead and register for that site, join us, and you'll have access to all these great resources. So thank you so much. Have a lovely afternoon, a lovely evening, and we'll see you next time. All right.